Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently Monday, May 11th, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock. And we're trying out some new equipment right now to see if this works, since we had some problems yesterday. Facebook, for some reason, didn't like my cameras, didn't understand what was going on, and the browser wasn't happy. Nothing was happy yesterday, and we ended up posting this yesterday's video, God, close to 9 o'clock, actually, so my apologies for that. But here we are today. Again, I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and I'm here today to do today's daily recap of events that will affect the way you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. Now, the thought for today is masks in the West Wing. I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But we start today, as we do every other day, on the current number of cases. And right now, current COVID cases in the U.S. are 1,344,000. Today we hit another milestone, 80,000 deaths. For some reason, we're infatuated with round numbers, and we were at 79 yesterday. We're at 80,000 deaths right now. And again, that's just in the last 10 weeks. That puts the death rate basically at 6.02%, which is really off the wall. It started out basically at 2%, and everybody's feeling not great, but it wasn't that bad. 6% is not a real happy number. Now, right now, about 232,000 people have recovered, which means you've got a recovery rate of basically 16% of total cases, which isn't bad, but certainly nowhere near great. New York State, their numbers are still growing. They're currently at 337,000 cases, over 26,82 deaths. So they're still growing, a whole lot less than what they were before, but those deaths are still keep going up. Cases in New York City are 185,000 right now. New Jersey is still the second highest number of cases. Their numbers keep going up. 140,000 cases right now, 9,300 deaths. And it's not a happy situation, obviously. But New Jersey and New York have basically turned the tides on this because of all the efforts that they've been putting forth. The citizens in both of those states have really humped it, did what they were supposed to do, social distancing, masks, and staying at home as much as possible. And it's helped keep the numbers to where they're at right now, which is better than they were a week, 2 weeks ago. Right now, on average, we're still losing about 2,000 people a day are dying from COVID in the United States right now on average. And as the numbers keep growing, okay, there's deaths everywhere. And each one of those deaths is an individual person. And I come up here every day and I give you what the numbers are, and it's nice to know what those numbers are. But behind each number, behind each one of those numbers is a personal tragedy. Somebody on an individual level feels that tragedy, feels that particular number. And I can say 80,000 deaths, and that's 80,000, that's a number out here someplace. But someone actually makes up that number. Okay. And there's a community that they live in, there's families, there's friends, there's coworkers, and all these people are affected by those losses. Now, I wanted to highlight just one of the names again today behind all those numbers. And it's difficult because things are happening. And today I wanted to mention Sunday Reuter. Okay, she lost her husband several years ago. She battled with breast cancer, raising 6 kids. She was only 42. Only 42. Mother of 6. She lived in Everett, Washington. She died on March 16th. Her life was a collage of kids' sports games and family adventures. You know how it is. You're playing mom, you get 6 kids. You don't have much of a life. It's wrapped around the kids constantly because the kids need a lot of attention. But she had the 6 kids. Her youngest was in middle college, and they were her everything. It's what moms just do. Reuter's friend, Jessica Harris, said that, Reuter was constantly on the go, dreaming up spontaneous excursions for her brood. Well, what a surprise. If you're a mom of 6 kids, you're definitely on the go. There's no way around that. Okay, you don't sit down. There is no sitting down. You always have something to do. And if you're a mom of 1 or 2 kids, you understand what that's all about. Having 6, you're running your butt off. So she was a really busy person. She'd tell the kids, hey, we're going to go for a drive. Next thing you know, they're out in California. Okay, she was really adventurous and really never at home. Okay. In the summertime, it was very hard to keep up with her. Now, Harris and Reuter had been friends since they were teenagers. They grew up in the suburbs of Seattle, spent time living in Spokane, Washington. When they were young, they both settled in Everett, just north of Emerald City, a small town there. Now, Harris's own 6 kids. Okay, Reuter was Annie Sunday. You know how it is with best friends. Okay, it's always, you're the auntie, you're the uncle. Okay, that's how you're introduced. You're not a friend, you're just the uncle. You're the auntie. And that was just the way it was. And they always put, their family before themselves. That's what they do. Okay. Now, Rita was also tough. She was very independent. She didn't put her problems out there, Harris said, and she really, really ever complained. With 6 kids, you don't have time to complain. She worked at Ross Dress for Less to support the family. She weathered the sudden loss of her husband several years ago. And then she beat breast cancer. Didn't get her down, that's what Harris said. She still went to work and still took care of her kids. She recently finished chemotherapy and attended Harris's daughter's birthday party. And we're just getting back to normal, Harris said. And then she got sick with the virus. Nearly after 2 weeks, she had so much trouble breathing that her son took her to the hospital, where she died. Now, here you got a serious family person here, already lost her husband, and she's taking care of the kids. Now she's just a single mom, middle class, because she's working at Ross dress stores. Okay, so she's just getting by. She's helping the kids out, and she gets sick and she dies. Okay, what are 6 kids supposed to be doing right now? That's part of that 80,000 number. And I don't want to forget about that at any point in time, and neither should you. Because for each one of those numbers, there's a story behind each one of those numbers. And we should really remember that. The thought for today is masks in the West Wing. I just got this story a couple hours ago, and I went through it. It was interesting, without a doubt in the world. That's why I wanted to bring it to you. And it's basically from CNN. And in an email sent to White House employees, okay, Monday afternoon, staffers were told they must wear a mask upon entry and to keep social distance from colleagues whenever possible, and only not wear a mask when they're seated at their own desks. Now, staffers have also been told, according to sources, that the White House will provide a mask to anyone who actually needs it. The new rules came after 2 White House staffers tested positive for the COVID virus last week. Another measure under consideration is that aides must maintain a 6-foot social distance during meetings, including meetings with the president. One senior administration official told ABC that. Now, while attendees of the meeting might be slightly, more spaced out in recent weeks, there hasn't been a lot of 6-foot distancing among the attendees. And you've seen that in the press conferences. They're separated a little bit, but not by 6 feet. So on White House, on Friday, the White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, he said, it's probably the safest place you can come to work, okay, despite the confusion internally about what's actually being done to keep the building and employees safe. Any given employees do not follow social distancing measures. Okay. Now, following Vice President Pence's secretary last week, Katie Miller, testing positive, as one of the president's personal valets, Okay, some team members inside the White House have unilaterally decided to work from home. Now, over the weekend, Mark Meadows, a White House chief of staff, again, worked with the White House medical staff and security units to put on additional protocols to make certain the administration had an official stance to this thing. And he said, any meetings that the president goes to, people will maintain a maximum of social distancing measures. There have also been discussions about separating the president and the vice president, but at this point, multiple officials say that it's unlikely that the two of them will ever really attend meetings together at this point. Now, Pence also did not, quarantine over the weekend. He was not in attendance for a meeting with military leaders on Saturday out of an abundance of care after Katie Miller tested positive, but was back at work on Monday. Now, many aides who were in the meetings with Katie Miller have been contacted as part of the White House contact tracing effort. Amazing, the White House has contact tracing. Okay, I don't think you do. Just a guess. Okay, so the White House as contact tracing, especially for we're sitting anywhere near her in the meeting according to seating charts. Now, it's not clear whether additional administration officials are going to be quarantining as a result of the coming contact with anyone who was tested positive or not. However, Dr. Fauci entered a modified quarantine, due to his exposure with someone who tested positive for COVID. Fauci joined the growing list of administration officials taking precaution following the news that two COVID cases at the White House. Now, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Dr. Robert Redfield announced Saturday that he would be going into self-quarantine due to a low-risk exposure with someone with COVID. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Stephen Hahn also said that he would be isolating himself for similar reasons. So here we are, starting the second week of May. We're a good 10 weeks into this by the president's count, and even though this started back in January. Despite all the press conferences, all the presidential briefings, the endless stream of liberate this state and liberate that state tweets, and then somebody in the White House gets COVID. It's been that way across the entire country, but all of a sudden now there's masks in the West Wing. They're required now. It's an absolutely amazing thing. It really is. Now, understand also that people going into the White House are tested regularly. They have their temperatures taken before they get access to the building, and then again before they go into sensitive areas that the president might be exposed to or the vice president might be exposed to. Also remember that the president and the vice president are able to actually get tested, every day. Before this, they were getting tested once a week, but right now they're getting tested every day. Now, yes, they want to open the economy. Yes, the president has required meat processing plants to stay open. And none of those people going into those plants or to work, or any of us that are expected to go back to work or go into restaurants and stores and go shopping, have anything close to that level of testing available to us. Have you ever been tested? I don't know. How many people do you know that have actually been tested? If they are tested, if you've been tested at all, how often can you get that test? How often do they get retested? Weekly, like the White House staff, or daily, like the president? This all affects you and your family. Think about it. When you see those protesters out there, they're carrying rifles, they got handguns strapped to their waist, They're not social distancing, they're not wearing masks. No. Shouldn't you and your family be protected from COVID just as much as the staff at the White House or the president? If not, why not? Just a thought, something you might want to consider. Again, strange things are happening out there, but when it hits home at the White House, all of a sudden now, masks are okay. Social distancing is now okay. It's beyond okay. It's actually required. But these are the same people telling you, oh no, go liberate that state. They're trampling on your rights. Okay, you've got a right to assemble. You've got a right for this. You got a right for the other. What a surprise. When it gets close to the president, all of a sudden now, everybody's wearing a mask, except the president, of course. We don't want to lead by actually doing what we expect everybody else to do. So when you go out, okay, wear a mask. Okay. If you got an N95 mask, there's a good chance, if it's a good mask, that it'll actually protect you from someone else. But the main reason for the mask is that so that you protect them from you. Because again, what happens with COVID is you could be infected. You can be infected for 2, 3, 4, 5 days before you actually test positive for it. In those 2, 3, 4, 5 days, you can still be spreading the virus. Something to think about. Even if you could get tested every day, you could still be carrying this thing for 4 or 5 days before a positive test actually shows up. But again, how are you actually getting tested right now? You getting tested every day? Once a week? Once a month? Have you been tested at all? Interesting things. So, Facebook is lit up with crazies posting things that, this is no different than the flu when they're posting numbers that were from early January. Makes it look very official. And I ask these people, why you do this stuff? You know the numbers are wrong. 80,000 people have dead already in this country from COVID. This is not the flu. Why do you post this number like that? Of course, there's no response. There's also no response from the person who said, well, there's, all those people in the country and the world right now, we can lose a few of them. But when I asked her yesterday, after she made that post, are you going to volunteer to be one of them? Are you going to volunteer your kids or your mom and dad or your husband? No response. What a surprise. When it hits home, it's a little bit different. So I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. I'm here to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. My only goal is to help you do just that. Now, again, I appreciate you spending some time with me. I look forward to doing this again tomorrow at 7. Hopefully, on the tech side of this thing is going to work out. We're going to find out as soon as I finish this up. And then we can go from there. But again, I'll be posting this on my YouTube channel, The Real Money Doctor, tomorrow. And there's always a link in there to a page. And there's always a little present, something entertaining generally for the most part. I put some motivational stuff in there occasionally, but I like light entertainment, especially now. People are really, really seriously frustrated, and they want something just to take their mind off of things. And I try and do that also. Again, I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I look forward to spending some time with you again tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Thank you.